Okay, guys.
Okay, yep. So let's start. It's like 32. Yeah, so welcome everyone for our webinar this week. Everyone joining live or still joining. And also we got some really cool feedback from you guys who are tuning in on the recordings. So I just want to welcome you guys too and make sure you feel part of this, even though you may not make the live appointment. Today is going to be another two-part webinar. So for the first part, we have a very special guest on, Alex Franklin, as you probably know by now. And for the second part, we're going to do a Q&A again. So we're going to do our best to get through all your questions that you sent in beforehand. We're going to go first through the questions under the post announcing the webinar, like last week. Then we're going to go through posts, like questions that have been posted in the group. And then we're going to go through questions that you can put in the chat of this call. So if you have something that you haven't asked yet and you're like, oh, I really need to get this off my chest today, please post it in the chat right here on Zoom, and we'll get through that after we did the other ones. Can everyone hear me well, like with the mic? Is it good? Okay, great. So without any further ado, I would just ask you, Alex, to unmute yourself if you haven't already. Yeah, just welcome again. It's really awesome that you made time to come on here. I'm sure you're a very busy lady these days, so we really appreciate it. And yeah, maybe for those people who don't know you or who don't know what you've been up to lately, just give us a brief, just a brief jog through like your SFM journey, and the Transcend You challenge that you won the second place of.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me. It's really lovely to be here. My name's Alex. I've been with SFM for just over a year now. It was the 5th of July that I joined, and I signed up under Dan Holloway and I went black, and I kind of spent a long time learning, and I didn't really get going really until after the events in London in March. I went to all of them. I did Brand Incubator, Marketing Mastery, excuse me, and the Momentum Day. And Momentum Day was when Stuart announced the Transcend You Challenge, which I'm sure most of you have heard of by now. And it was, yeah, a 90-day challenge that I just felt I was in the right place at the right time for that challenge, and I took it on very seriously because I was in a place where I really needed to get going with this business. And you know, I'd been kind of like just in learning mode and not really doing. Yeah, I kind of went through those 90 days and made massive progress in my business. I wasn't even marketing at the beginning. By the end of it, I had like 7 or so members and over 1,000 leads. Had got my cost per lead down from like £8.50 to £3.90. Just like everything that I wanted to achieve, apart from being eligible for 10 for 10, which I had put on my goals, but I was a bit optimistic there. But everything else I managed to achieve. And yeah, since then it's all been a bit crazy because everybody wants to speak to me all of a sudden.
Way to become popular. But honestly, that is really impressive. Like, wow. Do you want to, maybe we had that on the call with Christine. She just went through the challenge real quick, but for maybe we have people joining who hadn't seen that call. Do you want to just go really quickly through like the basics of the challenge so we're all on the same page?
Yeah, sure. So the challenge was it was a 90-day challenge. The idea was to set goals it was things that you wanted to create habits for yourself. So the idea was to introduce new habits into your life, and over the period of the 90 days, doing it consistently, by the end of it, you would hopefully like find that it was automatic and no longer a challenge. So it was an opportunity to kind of be held accountable. We picked topics under health, self, and like business or wealth. They did recommend just picking one goal per category. I ignored that, and I did I did have quite a few in each category, so I did stretch myself, and yeah, it was quite challenging, but then it kind of was like really challenging for the first few weeks, and then it gets easier like when you create any new habit. And yeah, there was a Facebook group, and we were all held accountable. We were supporting each other in the group, and we had like a forfeit that we could that we would have to do or pay if we didn't stick to the goals that we'd committed to. So Stuart had suggested paying money to Victoria's Promise could be an example, which is a charity that he's set up. And that's what I did. I had a forfeit of £500 to Victoria's Promise for anything that I didn't achieve. So it was enough to get me out of bed and get me doing the things I said I would do.
Wow, super cool. You mentioned at the beginning that things that you've been kind of dwindling along, my own words, and that things really took off when you, whoopsie, are we good?
It went a bit funny, but you're back, I think.
I'm back. I'm funny.
It's Naresh. Would you please mute the mic? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Wait, maybe this is, never mind. Yeah, so at the beginning of what you said when you described your journey, you mentioned that things really took off once you went to the live events. And that's something many people actually wonder, like, why should you go to live events? Isn't the video training enough? How would you describe the impact that it had, and why didn't you take action before? Like, you know, what was it in the events that got you going and like exploding?
Yeah, the going to the live events and just being like in the space with all of these amazing people who are like either on the journey with you or, you know, way ahead of you on the journey. It's just so inspiring. It really gives you that fuel that you need to do the work, you know, because it is hard work to get your business off the ground, and there's a lot of steps and a lot of challenges that come up, a lot of obstacles, and it can be very easy to let those get in the way. And I had a real problem with procrastination, and it was mainly to do with fear. But being in that space, when you meet people, you get inspired by them. I had the privilege to do my brand incubator with Valerie, and so I did get to hang out with him a little bit, and he really inspired me and was, you know, telling me like what was possible to achieve in a short period of time. And you know, that was one of the things that I remembered. I was like, okay, I've got 90 days, like we're going to do this. And it just gives you momentum. I mean, there's not a surprise why it's called Momentum Day, because I felt that momentum for the next 3 months as I went through that challenge. So they are hands down like a really important part of this journey. I would really recommend going to them if you haven't.
Super cool. I can very much relate to being around Valerie being very inspiring. Awesome. Another thing you mentioned was that the first few weeks of the challenge were difficult, and after that it wasn't anymore as much. So I'm just wondering, I mean, obviously things become a habit at one point, but what did you do to get through those difficult times? Do you have something specific that you can maybe give as an advice to push through when things get tough?
Yeah, like when you introduce any new habit, you know, you are going like against gravity. You've really got to have a lot of willpower to keep going. And I think, you know, just having accountability is huge. So we obviously had that in the challenge, but through that challenge, I mean, Christine probably already mentioned this a few weeks ago, like I actually formed an accountability group, and she's one of the people in it with a couple of other girls that we connected through the challenge. And, you know, if you haven't got an accountability partner or an accountability group, that's massive, because it's so much easier to do something when you've promised somebody else that you're going to do it, you know, like we, at least for me, like we don't really take things as seriously when we're just promising ourselves, you know, whereas when we've made the commitment to somebody else, it's like I never want to let people down, so it just gives me that extra fire to keep going. So accountability, I would say, is like the #1 tip.
Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of strange, isn't it, that it only kicks in when it's other people we promise things to, and it should be us actually, but like I haven't met anyone who didn't feel like that yet. So yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I think it's really important to like hear it from many people, you know, at least I feel that way, because everybody's all over accountability, but you saying it again and Christine having said it and it being all over the Facebook group and so on, like it's there's just not enough of like repeating the important parts of this journey.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you don't even hear things until you're ready to hear them, because I know there was a lot of stuff I heard over and over and over again, and then at one point in the journey it just clicked and I was like, oh, that's what that means. Like now I get it, now I'm ready to hear it. Yeah,
totally, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm just curious, like your business totally took off and your habits changed, and what is it you're working on right now? Like if you want to share, like what exactly has changed for you now since the challenge?
a lot has changed. I've just been offered a job in the Scrap the 9 to 5, well, we've scrapped the 9 to 5. So I started today. So I am going to be, I think just through the events of the last few months, I've been offered lots of opportunities. Obviously, I'm still growing my affiliate business and still working on that, and supporting my members. And in one of the ways I'm doing that is by giving webinars in the Scrap the 9 to 5 Facebook group, which I did my first one yesterday. And yeah, I've now
was great, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Valerie. Yeah, so that's going to be like every fortnight there'll be a different topic, and it's mostly for people who are like maybe still in the modules or just recently finished the modules. So just something a bit different to the like question and answer webinar that Dan's been doing for ages. And yeah, I'm going to be working with the Scrap the 9 to 5 team more heavily. That's still unfolding. I don't really know exactly what that all looks like yet. But yeah, it's changed everything. Like I went from not marketing, having no members, having no job, like literally I was running on savings, to having the beginnings of an affiliate marketing business and a job that I'm very excited about. So
Wow, congrats. That sounds amazing.
thank you.
Before I badger on any further, I just want to check in with everyone on this call. If you have something you want to ask Alex or say or whatever, just like kind of opening the space for comments, questions.
I just want to acknowledge what you have done since we have met in London last time. It was 4 months ago now or so, right?
Yeah.
And I remember you told me that you are going to totally join the 10 for 10 next time. So in a year from now, from that day. But you are almost there, right? After just about 4 months.
Yeah, I've got 9 members now. I haven't quite got the commissions, but we're on the way.
Awesome. I really hope that you are going to, I don't hope, I know for sure that you are going to be there next year.
Thank you, Valerie. I look
Great.
forward to seeing you there.
Any questions you want to ask Alex, guys?
Let's see in the chat. There's a few, but I'm not sure if it's questions. Nope. All right. So since we're kind of talking about the Transcend You challenge, if it like if you had to do it again, if there was another Momentum Day and another Transcend You challenge, what would you do same or differently? Like you in your position now?
Well, I think I probably would say I maybe wouldn't give myself so many goals because I ignored the advice to just stick to one to each category. And you know, when you're trying to make a lot of changes all at once, that's quite hard. So I did probably put unnecessary stress on myself. But I think one of the things that I definitely wouldn't change is that I spent a lot of time before I decided on those habits and the goals. I spent probably a good day or two really deciding what I wanted them to be. And I saw that one of the biggest problems that people had during the challenge was they hadn't set the right goals. They, you know, kind of got goals that maybe they thought they should do or habits that they should create, and they weren't really that passionate about them, or they didn't really want them. And so it was very easy to them stop, you know, to give up on them kind of thing, or to quit. So yeah, that's a bit of both, a bit of what I would change and a bit of what I wouldn't.
Yeah, super cool. So what did you do to find out what the right goals are for you?
Well, a lot of mine were centered around the business and the fact that I was just in this space where I really wanted to make that my number one priority. I had, you know, like I said before, I had been with the SFM for a while, and I still wasn't really marketing. I'd only kind of dabbled, and you know, I'd done like my first ad and it wasn't very good, and the cost per lead wasn't very good, and I'd taken it all down. And I hadn't really pushed through those like barriers of fear that had been holding me back. You know, I had all sorts of fear about, like, fear of judgment, fear of failure. What will people think? What, you know, what if this happens? What if that happens? And it was all holding me back. And so when I sat down to write my goals, I made a lot of the goals around health and self were to support me in my business. So I made sure that I was like exercising every day. I made sure that I didn't drink any alcohol for 90 days. That was one of my goals. I made sure that I had like a commitment to wake up at a certain time every morning and to meditate and do yoga. And the whole point of those was to like have some self-care alongside all of the business and work and all of, you know, all of the kind of work that I was going to be doing as well for the business goals. So I guess finding balance and not just, you know, overloading yourself with so many things that you can't continue with it. So some of my goals were supporting me, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm not gonna judge or anything, but I think they're awesome. I mean, it's one thing to have, like, you know, a goal to achieve a certain goal, and then when you achieved it, it's done. But your approach sounds like very, very holistic, where you're like, if I'm in a good space and I take good care of my body, my mindset, like if you align yourself in a way that nurtures you, you know, like you did, then that's a larger trajectory than just like wanting a certain, and those certain goal, like those specific goals, they're gonna fall into place eventually, right? Like, well, they did for you. So wow, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's super valuable. I'm just gonna hop over to the chat because
Stuart gave an awesome speech on goal setting, and he also shared his thoughts about the challenge. Worth listening to. So if you guys missed the last visionary call, make sure you catch up with the recording. An awesome perspective he shared. Just a quick reminder. So guys, we have a few questions for Alex in the chat.
yeah, so the first one is from Gerardo, not sure. Hello all, new guy here, no video, no mic for the time being. Yes, question, Alex. You said you were not working during the 90 days challenge, like not a traditional job. So I guess that's more of a statement, but you
This is
weren't.
correct. Please repeat.
Yeah, no, that's correct. I had already quit my job. I had decided that I was all in, and I was too impatient, basically. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It did put extra pressure on me, and you know, I now have a job because you do need to keep funding your marketing. But yeah, at the time I had quit my job to just really focus on this. So yeah.
Wow, and then having the 500 pounds in the back of your head, that sure was a motivation, I guess.
Yeah, and that was £500 for every single goal. So like, it's not just, it's like anything you didn't do that was going to cost you £500.
Wow.
It
Well, but
works.
it worked, yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
All right, next question from Francisco. Any ideas on how to organize your time daily, especially regarding the income producing activities?
Any ideas on how to organize my time, was it? Sorry, you went,
Yeah.
went a
Yeah,
bit quiet.
your daily time, like specifically income producing activities.
Do them first. The income producing activity is the most important part of it. So, I mean, I use Trello. It's an app that you can download on your computer. I'm very much a list person, and I used to have piles and piles, notebooks and pieces of paper everywhere. And then I discovered Trello, and it's amazing because you can write all of your lists, and yeah, it's just, you can organize yourself. Rich is showing his piles of paper. I mean, for me, because I was growing my business, like there's so many different things you have to do in the beginning, and it changed a lot. And actually I had to keep adjusting and adapting. And even through the 90 days, I had to change my goals to some degree, because I would like finish one thing and then it made no sense to continue working on that. Like I now needed to move to the next stage. So I would always ask myself, like, what's the thing that will have the most impact? What can I do today that will have the most impact? And always tried to like have only like, say, 3 items on my to-do list. I mean, I had many, many more on another list, but on the one that I look at each day, it just has the top 3 priorities. And usually the most important task that is going to give you the highest amount of impact in your business is the one that scares you the most. And so you have to put that first. And it, you know, some advice I've learned since as well is that it can be good just to have that one thing on your to-do list and nothing else, because then when you open up like your Trello board, for example, it's like, oh, well, that's what I have to do today. And all the resistance, all the fear that you're going to feel, you know, if it's shooting your first YouTube advert or posting your first blog or whatever it is, you know, you just eliminate everything else and do that one thing first.
Awesome advice. I can resonate with this so much. And I'm really happy for this Prep to 9 to 5 group, as they can enjoy you every week now.
Every fortnight.
A question to follow up on that question, if you don't mind. Do you have a specific routine in the morning?
Yes. Yes. So this was part of what I was like establishing during the 90 days. I mean, I used to teach yoga, so I've been doing yoga for years. So it's always been a part of my morning routine. But I added to it during the challenge. So I wake up no later than 7 a.m. It's actually more like 6 a.m. these days. The very first thing I do is meditate, and I do at least half an hour meditation every morning. I then spend about 10, 15 minutes visualizing my goals, my future self, yeah, anything to do with like who I want to be. And then after that, I'll do either yoga or some other form of exercise. So at least half an hour of exercise. And What else? I practice like a gratitude exercise. So I mean, it sounds more complicated than it is. I just think of things to be grateful for. Some people like to journal, but I usually just do it kind of on my yoga mat when I've finished my practice. And then as I start to like go about my morning, you know, getting my breakfast or having a shower or whatever, I will listen to Audible. So I don't tend to get through books very quickly if I read. So I find it much better to listen to Audible. So I'm always learning something every day, at least half an hour listening. So that's pretty much my morning routine. And then I sit
That's
down
awesome.
to work.
Now I know where your results are coming from. The reason I've asked is that I just started reading a book called The Miracle Morning because I want to better my morning routine a lot. It was just coffee and cigarettes for many years. And today I do more, and I'm looking forward to improving this. And I think this book is amazing. Have you maybe heard about it or read this book?
I've heard about it. I've heard Dan talk about it in detail. It's on my Audible list, actually. I haven't read it yet, though.
I'm going to post a link in the chat, guys, if you want to check this book out.
Yeah.
I came to a conclusion as well at some point that it's a big difference starting your morning like Alex is doing so compared to how you know, the majority of the population is doing.
Yeah.
So your first hour of the day is going to determine the success of the whole day. And due to the compounding effect, if you wake up like this every day, you know, over 90 days or maybe over a year, your life will change completely, I guess. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, definitely. I've had periods in my life where I didn't do things like this, and I can feel the difference so much. Yeah.
Awesome. Should we continue with the questions?
Yeah, I would. We still have a few minutes. Where are we? Trello. Help me out here.
That one from Joy. How did you overcome your fears, Alex?
Watch my webinar. There's a whole hour-long webinar in the Scrap the 9 to 5 group that I did yesterday about overcoming fear. But very quickly, I decided to lean into them. Don't run away from them. Everything that scares you is where your growth is. It's where the biggest amount of growth comes. So I really changed my mindset about fear, and instead of being like afraid of fear, I became like excited by it. I was like, oh, this scares me. Yes, this is what I need. This is going to move me forwards. This is what I'm going to do. So it's changing your mindset about it and seeing it as an amazing opportunity instead of something to run away from.
Yeah, and awesome answer. Yeah. But it's important to understand that this mindset change could take a while. It's not like you you know, will wake up tomorrow suddenly free of all your fears. It will take a while.
No,
is it so?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, it's like, of course it's terrifying and it's really easy to say that, right? But then when you're faced with fear, like it's natural, like your body is your physical body is affected by it, and you really just want to run away from it, whatever it is. But I think the thing is that if you just make little steps in the direction of leaning into your fear, like whether it's, you know, shooting your first video on the 90-day video journey, or, you know, putting up your hand and speaking on a webinar, like it was only a few months ago, like I used to get really scared when I was on the Marketing Mastery webinars, and I used to hide without the camera. I never came out. And then over time, I was like, okay, I need to ask a question. I'll come out and ask a question. And as they got closer down the chat towards my question, I used to feel like so much anxiety, because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to speak. Oh my God, like they're getting to me. And like now I'm sitting on webinars talking to you like, you know, like I'm, you know, it's fine. And I hosted my own webinar yesterday. So it's little steps, you know, you just take the next step and the next step and the next step, and it gets easier. Yeah.
Everyone is like yeah, I mean, we all go this path. It all starts like this. We all were super scared in the beginning, like Emil says, scared beyond belief. But then over time it gets better. You just get used to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And in
What helps me
regards,
overcome. Sorry, Clara, go on.
oh no, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Just wanted to add to the fear question. What helps me a lot to overcome them is to really understand why I feel that way. Basically, fear is just an emotion, right? And I try to understand why my body feels this emotion. And when I try to analyze why I do feel like this, why I do experience fear, it almost always comes down to how our, brain works, just to the biology or to chemistry. And feeling that emotion made sense many thousand years ago, but nowadays not all the things we feel are necessarily dangerous, So, for example, being on a webinar, why we feel so afraid about it is because we feel like many people are looking at us. And, a few million years ago, when your tribe, when everyone was looking at you, it meant, exile or maybe even death. So we have, inherited those genes. And now when everyone is looking at us, we have the same reaction our ancestors had, but today it makes no sense. You're not in danger. No one is going to kill you, right? So understanding the fear helps me a lot to just say, okay, I feel like this. It's my body, but it's not my soul, if you want.
Yeah, and just a
It's
sorry.
it's the reptilian part of the brain, isn't it? It's the fight and flight response at the end of the day. But
Exactly.
it's about understanding why you feel that way and then realizing you're not in any immediate danger. Jumping out on a webinar is not like a Tyrannosaurus Rex chasing after you. So the danger is
like this.
It does, but that's what you were given eyes for. You can kind of see it's not. But I can understand where you're coming from, and I won't go on for a full-blown speech on how the brain works. I will back down now and stay out the way. Carry on.
Just a quick add-on for what you said about the small steps, which is really like, I think, well, some things you just have to jump into it and then you're done with it, but usually small steps are more achievable in a way. And especially for like video fears, there's like, as you all are aware of, I'm sure, but there's amazing safe spaces here in the SFM community to make those small steps. Speaking of 90-day video journey, for example, or just, I don't know, one-on-one coaching, getting used to the video stuff, whatever, talking to other members, just talking to people who are in the same process. It locks in back to accountability also. Just connect with other people, because doing this alone is like the worst thing you can do to yourself if you don't have any support from anyone. So yeah, that kind of ties into that. Guys, real quick, we're through half an hour.
Yeah.
Should we continue through these questions or do the others and come back?
We still have a lot of questions in the chat, but unfortunately, we will probably not be able to answer all of them. I just want to, pick one that I think is awesome, and then all of them are awesome, but I just found one that really resonated, and I would love Alex to answer that one. And then, since we made a commitment to answer the questions our members or members of our group have, I would love to go to the group and answer them. Maybe Alex can answer them as well. So the question I would love Alex to answer is from Simon, and it goes, or Simon, maybe you want to jump out and ask it yourself? No worry about kids.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, one of them's asleep now, which is good. One down, one to go. Alex, I've got a quick question. So my question to you is, since Momentum Day, or I guess since you started on this journey, has your circle of influence or your circle of friends change in that? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, yes. The quick answer is yes. I mean, I hang out with Dan Holloway now. So if you need any more evidence, then yeah, it's changed massively. And, it's kind of challenging because I have had to kind of let go of some friendships, doesn't mean that they're not dear to me, but just being in those circles is not a positive place for me anymore,
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say the people I speak to on a daily basis are now my accountability group, which are 3 other women, including Christine Frey, who's, yep, they're all in SFM. Yep, Dan Holloway, Catherine, his assistant. You know, it's basically all SFM people that I'm in daily communication with. So yes, it's changed dramatically.
Yeah, do you know what? I put the question out there because obviously for most of us who are going through this journey, a lot of the time we're spending with close friends, family, and even like some of your best friends who have been like people you think are like your closest friends, but in actual fact, they're going through life in a completely different path to you, fulfilled or not. You find that the people that you associate with a lot more have, you maybe realize that they haven't got the same sort of sense of purpose or if, you know, any at all. And that's what I'm just finding at the minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll get you some squash. Yeah. Hang on.
Oh,
Welcome
bless.
to real life, folks. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's so important to surround yourself with people who believe what you believe, and you know, that's the beauty of this community, because of course we can't just change our, you know, families and our lifelong friends and everything in our, you know, in our real world, if you like. But yeah, just getting involved more with the community and get into the meetups, get into the events, get in on the webinars, like that will have an impact, and you will get to know more and more people, and it will change over time.
Yeah, cool. All right, thanks for that.
Welcome.
An interesting observation I have made or am still making, I'll see if it's if it's the case or not, in regards to changing people's circles and so on. I've realized that it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same thing that they do or believe or live for, but what's more important is the intensity and commitment and fulfillment level that they're on. So you might connect to people who are in a completely different field, but to them that field is what yours is to you, and it's like on a different level, but the connection comes from a different angle, from a different direction than you would have expected. But it's like a new basis that you make your relationships and friendships on, and I just found that really fascinating. So.
Well, Clara, you edited my piece of work, didn't you? And you know exactly what I'm probably going to say right now. And I was going to say, I think you can sum it up in one word: values. What are the values that they hold? You know, because what you'll find a lot of is when you speak to people in this community, just even the people that I happen to work with in this itself, right? I think at some level, we all share an awful lot of the same values. And that makes it very easy to connect with these people, because it's like, you see so much of yourself in them and vice versa. So when you've got that round you, it's like a nourishing environment where you have the ability to obviously grow, expand and move out, and no one's criticizing you for it. Whereas the best analogy I can use, and this is only my personal experience, was I care about everyone in my life, but I had to go through a stage where it was like, there's the 3 types of relationships, isn't there? There's expanded relationship, there's obviously this has to go relationship, and there's, okay, let's limit it. So basically, by that I mean you expand the amount of time you spend with people who you know are going to help you towards whatever it is you're trying to achieve, happiness, wealth, whatever it may be. You have the ones that have been very close friends all your life, but maybe, like someone said a minute ago, on a different path, or perhaps, you know, things have changed over the years, because in life we decide sometimes we're going to take a different path, or things don't pan out as they expected, and they choose to stay on that path. And then what happens is you gradually start to space apart, because obviously you now have different goals, different values to aim for. And then there's the ones where sometimes if you go on through life in autopilot and never actually stop to question anything you're actually doing, it's only then when you become aware of this, you stop and go, oh wow, actually I'm so different to you. Once upon a time we were close friends, but now I look at you and I think, I don't think like that anymore. I don't behave like that anymore. You know, back in my teenage years, I would have been like, okay, let's go out clubbing, whatever. Now I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do that every Saturday. as a great example. So it's like sometimes you can get locked into a habit and you can end up doing the same things over and over again. And sometimes it takes that ability, where Alex, the perfect example right here in this room right now, being that, okay, you made a conscious decision to formulate good habits, and then you went through and replaced the ones that were there with these, and the results now bear fruit.
Awesome. So deep, as always. Guys, before we start the Q&A part, I want to suggest we do something. Now, we have talked about fears a lot, and especially about the fear of coming out on camera. So maybe someone on this call wants to just, you know, put the strengths together, turn on the camera and ask Alex a question for the first time, or maybe just share something. You have the ability to do so now in a very safe space. I can hear the hearts. Boom, 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 boom.
Lean into it. Yay, we have people joining.
Hold on a minute, Ellen. Next time. No. Ellen, where are you? Where are you? I'm not having this. This is not what we talk about on our calls.
Before you do, by the way, you can raise your hand so it's not, you know, just suddenly coming out. So if someone wants to come out and ask Alex a question on camera, you are free to raise your hand.
Hang on, here we go. We have.
Oh,
Marcus?
hello. Can
Kevin.
you? Oh, I'm in
It's
my
not Kevin.
fiance's computer. That's why it's coming up, Kevin.
You're definitely not Kevin.
My name's Rachel.
Hi,
So
Rachel.
hello, everyone. My question was more about your perfect day, your ideal day. Can you tell me what that is? I'm kind of in that process right now of writing mine, and it's about 10 pages long. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of detail. So I kind of want to get a sense of where yours is and yeah, see if I'm on the right track.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for coming out. So my perfect day, when I visualize each morning, I wake up doing pretty much the same thing that I already do. I do my meditation, my yoga, and then I go for a walk along a beach, and I usually have some loved ones around me, maybe a furry friend as well, a dog. And then I go back home and I work on something that I'm extremely passionate about for a few hours, something that has an impact in people's lives, helping to make people's dreams come true and help them to overcome fears and challenges. And I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but my affiliate marketing business is the beginning of that. And then in the afternoons, I'm free to do whatever I want to do. And I go and probably spend time with friends, family, or do some personal development work, or lie on a beach, read books. Just, yeah, it's connecting with people would probably be a big part of it. And that's pretty much it. And then spend my evenings mostly at home, relaxing with family and friends, loved ones. And that's pretty much my perfect day.
What about the Lamborghini?
Don't want one, not interested. I was thinking about an Audi A1. That's about as extravagant as I get. It's not that extravagant.
Good German car.
Not been hanging around with Dan long enough, clearly.
Well, we don't have the same taste. No,
Awesome.
he's got an Audi actually.
Anyone else? Marcus, I have seen you raising your hand, and Lazarus. You see how we get more and more people? Awesome. Maybe we have to reschedule our Q&A session this time.
They're getting more confident. This is brilliant.
Okay.
Who's going first?
Well, I don't mind. You can go. No problem.
Okay. For me, it's about the fear, because what the bananas am I going to talk about? Because quite frankly, it's like I know a lot about everything, but not a master in anything. And I come from the school of thought that, I mean, if you want to talk about something so that people listen to you, you have to really master your subject. Because I come from an environment where there are lots of preachers. And, when they're on their bully pulpit there, they're, speaking what's in the Bible, and everybody knows, okay, it's in the Bible. So that they are masters of that. So for me, thinking, okay, I'm going to start having to drop content. I know I have to do this. I mean, video is the way. Let's just be frank about it. So what am I going to say? I mean, people will like say, I mean, that's Lazarus. But what is he talking about? I mean, I know there are so many things to talk about. I was telling my wife, I said, I mean, while I'm in the gym, ideas are coming in left and right. I can talk about this, I can talk about that, but I didn't master in it. I mean, are people going to listen to you? You see, you hear all these personal development speakers speaking on YouTube, and they know their stuff. Even Dan Holloway, the first time I heard him, I was like, okay, what is he talking about? Then after a couple of times, man, this guy knows his stuff, It's like that. But I think it's not supposed to be that way, So I don't know how you deal with it, and of course, the other guys, look at Rich. I mean, he obviously knows his stuff, Valerie, So do we have to get to that place where we are masters of
I'm gonna have to
go before we can talk? So that's my question, man, guys.
Valerie,
Lazarus, you can literally just turn on the camera and talk about whatever you want, and people are going to love it.
Exactly. Let's
just gonna say that.
captivated.
So charismatic,
I'm
so
still listening there,
awesome with the
Lazarus.
camera. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Alex, do you want to answer?
Sure. So I think, first of all, it's important to recognize that every single person on this journey has that same fear, right? How many people on the call either have it right now or have had it? Put your hand up. Yeah, pretty much everybody that I can see on the screen, okay? So it's really, really normal is the first thing to recognize. And like Clara said, we have this really amazing safe space of the 90-day video journey where you can overcome those fears because it's just a supportive environment for that very purpose. And everybody in there is doing exactly what you're doing, and they're trying to get confident on camera. So to start with, you just share maybe things that you already know a little bit about from your past experiences or what you've already been learning on this journey. And you'll soon, like, once you see other people's videos and you start to see what they're doing, you'll get more inspiration. And over time, even through the 90 days, you'll start to find your feel for it. You'll start to find what you enjoy talking about. You'll start to find like what you're passionate about and what you can talk about. And the main thing really is just to share your journey. Like, I haven't done anything other than share my journey. And I mean, this whole call, all I've been doing is sharing my journey. So I haven't had to like learn a script or perfect anything in advance. You've asked me questions and I've just shared my experience. And, if you're at the beginning of your journey, it seems daunting because maybe there isn't a lot to talk about, but as you go through the steps, there'll be more and more, and soon we won't be able to shut you up. So you're gonna smash it, don't you worry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rich, I have interrupted you, I guess. You wanted to add something?
It's all right, mate. I've just gone keyboard warrior on it and just sent Lazarus a private message. Don't worry about it. If you want to check in the chat, mate, I think you'll find a very short essay, which will have everything you need in there. But Alex, great stuff. Love that.
Really great. Marcus, you're next.
Okay, Alex, I'm interested if I got it right. You said it took you about 3/4 of a year to really be with SFM. And I'm interested in when you look now back what was the reasons? What were the reasons?
Yeah.
From the point looking back now.
Yeah, so yeah, I joined SFM in July last year. It wasn't that I wasn't all in. I went black very quickly. I was very committed right from the beginning. And I guess I got through the modules in the first few months, and then I really got stuck at the end of the modules. Took me a long time to kind of figure out what my next steps were, what platform I wanted to be on, and all this kind of stuff. And then I kind of got stuck a little bit in learning mode, and it just took me a long time to start marketing. And the reason is because of fear. I was procrastinating, and I didn't realize that until I went through the 90-day Transcend You challenge, because that challenge highlighted, because I couldn't procrastinate anymore, because I was held accountable to do the things I'd said I would do. And it really highlighted for me why I had taken what, compared to some people, is quite a long time to start marketing, because I had just been I'd been getting busy doing everything else apart from the thing that was going to have the impact, right? Mm-hmm. So I was working on my business every single day, but I wasn't doing the important things. That's why when somebody asked earlier about the daily method of operation and income producing activities, I said, well, that's number one, and it has to be number one. And that is usually where you have to face the fear, and I had been avoiding it, which is why I now feel like I've got a lot to share about facing fear, because I went through that. So yeah, that simple really.
Okay, thanks Alex, thanks.
That's okay, hope it answers your question.
I want to quickly come back to the previous question from Lazarus, whether you have to share a lot in order to be successful. And I'm just looking at the SFM sales leaderboard, and on the #1 spot, we have a guy who is present here today on the call, and he's actually not talking a lot. So Emil, may I ask you the question, or a question? How do you think it's possible? I mean, you're not talking a lot, you're not very present. Even on that call, people are sharing and you're just listening, being in your, silent assassin mode. What do you think was, that factor for you? It definitely was not talking a lot, right?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And firstly, I think you just have to realize that you don't have to be expert on anything. To be of value of someone else, you just maybe need to be a few steps ahead, because that's almost always most often more valuable to someone who's new than someone who is on a completely different level. So just be aware of that and use it as a strength instead of something you should worry about. And then, as the more you get into the stuff and learn new things, you will find more stuff to talk about. And yeah, I've had the same doubts many times myself, what I should say and what I should do and what I should give back to people. But I would say that one of the most important things I found in my own business is not to talk so much, but to listen instead. Just really listen what people are saying, what people are struggling with, and give and really, yeah, taking in that and use that in your content creation instead. And then, yeah, I think.
Sorry, continue.
No, that was basically what the main thing.
So the skill of active listening, I guess it's called, right?
Yeah.
Lazarus, do you enjoy being with a person more that talks nonstop, or with a person who knows how to listen to you and really cares about what you have to say?
Oh, I don't know, because I mean, at the end of the day, we are talking about value, right? Imparting value into each other. I would definitely love for somebody to listen to me. That's one of the biggest part of communication, not just to talk, but to know how to listen. you know. For Emil, they don't call him the silent assassin from nothing, you know. The guy just has something going for him. I don't know, you know. Like today, I was still on YouTube and his ad came on. I looked at his ad again, you know, I said, but what is it that draws me into you? You know, he's just there and just so believable, you know. So, and everybody's not going to be like that. He has something going for him, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. You know, it's not everybody who really have to express themselves, to really talk, to be believed. You know, so it's a journey that I will have to overcome. You know, it's that goes without saying. There's no, let's not get it twisted. You know, this is something that we have to overcome, especially those of us who want to do the YouTube part of it. We have to overcome this to be able to succeed. So, but it's just an innate fear right now that there's so much content that we have to give. But are you a master of your game? Do you know what you're talking about?
Question. Did anyone start as a master, by the way?
Not at all. You know,
then why are you waiting to be a master before you start posting content?
Yeah, that's why I was like saying this comes from the environment that I'm in. You understand? Normally, it's not supposed to be this. I recognize that. But just because, you know, I'm in an environment where there are a lot of preachers, and I listen to these things every day in church and all that, and they are so into their game. And, you know, so it's like, if you're not a minister in your church, you just can't come to the bully pulpit and speak. You know, so that kind of transcends into my business life now. You know, it's a duck that I have to break.
Yeah.
You hear what I'm saying? You know, it's a duck that I have to break, you know, but
what about some noise cancelling headphones?
You said what?
I was actually just having a laugh. I was just saying, what about some noise cancelling headphones and we just don't pay attention? That's a quick cure. I didn't buy these for no reason.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I got these.
Lazarus, look at
drown it out.
At every point of the journey, you will have people before you and people behind you. This is like the most important thing to realize. So you don't have to be Anthony Robbins in order to, you know, talk to people. You are talking right now and you have 30, 40 people listening to you and they are enjoying a lot what you have to say, you know. So over time, it's hopefully going to be a larger and larger amount of people, but always, it's never going to change. Always you're going to have people before you and people behind you. And at any given moment, it is the case. So even now, even today, you can go out, you can grab your smartphone, and if you're comfortable being on camera, you can just record a short video asking the same question you asked us, and you can post the question, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will find value in it. But you're going to learn all of this going through the modules, and especially going through the 90-day video journey. You will see what people are sharing, and you will find a lot of value in things that are actually not scripted and not, you know, this typical value delivery videos. You will find more value in people just, you know, sharing from the heart.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
Just real quick, I had a private message question regarding the Transcend You challenge. Just a small technical thing. They were asking how you get on it and where you can join. We didn't mention this, but the Transcend You challenge was the 90 days following the last Momentum Day. So it's not an ongoing thing like the 90-day video journey. It's actually over now. And so you can't join it now, but if they ever do something similar, we're going to hear of it soon enough. So it was for people who attended the Momentum Day live or joined with the on-demand option, because we really didn't mention that, just to get that clear.
Thank you, Clara. John, I see your hand. Just one more tiny thing. Alex, as far as I know, there is a Facebook group out there for people who want to continue setting the goals. Do you want to, you know, advertise that one a bit?
Yeah, basically, Danny Ham, who was the 3rd place winner of the Transcend Challenge, he created a Facebook group, and it's called Committed to Growth, I think. And it's an open invitation for anybody from SFM who would like to do a 90-day challenge. People are joining it all the time and starting their challenge whenever they're ready, and it's just a place where you can be held accountable. I can get the link and pop it in the chat if you would like.
I've just
Awesome
done
point.
that.
You did it?
Sorry, I've shared it privately.
Ah,
Now I am sharing this with everyone. So if you
Great.
guys want to continue or join that amazing energy, join that group. I'm in there as well. Not started any challenges yet because I'm too scared to commit, but I will.
Right, Valerie, you need to put a deadline on that fear.
Yeah, I know.
Let's do it now.
Hi, Valerie.
You got me there. You got me there.
Right, in fact, no, Valerie, you do know I'm in there as well.
Hi, Valerie.
John,
Yes.
so you have raised your hand for about 5 minutes, so excuse me please for not pulling out earlier. But guys, just for the future, when I refer to raising a hand, there's actually a feature in Zoom where you can please click a button, and then on the screen we will see that, you know, that a hand icon, so you don't have to do it like this. But no worries at all. But it's fun to look at, you know, 5 people sitting like this. John, ask your question, go ahead. And Alex, I will come back to you later, okay?
Okay.
Regarding the challenge.
Yeah, I'm not letting you off.
John, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Valerie. This is my first time. Actually, I'm learning how you guys are playing all the Blender. And just want to learn. This is like, I've been exposed on something looks very great, but I don't know how to start. I just want to learn what is going on and what you guys are doing, how to start, and what is the game and how the siphon in out.
So how to start? Tell me what the stage you are currently on. Have you, I guess you have submitted an application to the SFM. This is the way you got on one of the invitation lists. Am I right?
Yeah, I think I did something like that.
Cool. So can you still remember who your affiliate was, referring affiliate is? Or can you remember what video you have watched in order to join this little group of ours? Was it maybe Emil?
I watched.
Can you recognize my face or Emil's face?
Yeah, I just watched a video on my regular YouTube news that I used to follow, and
So
then
you
I
watched
click
mine.
on a link, and then yes.
Cool. After this call, I'm going to reach out to you with all the instructions in terms of what steps you need to take next. Okay with you?
Thank you very much, Valerie. Thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, we are 6 minutes over the time, and I don't think we have enough time to go into the Q&A part today, because Alex just blew us away with her, you know, awesomeness. So, Alex, thank you very much for being here. Truly inspirational journey. And I still remember, you know, your eyes burning as we were talking about growth and commitment and in London. And I still remember how motivated you were. And I'm really glad that you, you know, have found enough strength to actually follow through on that commitment. You know, we often see people who, you know, are super inspired by a vision, but when it comes to actually doing the work every single day, something always comes in between and life happens, and then 90 days pass and nothing changes. So I really enjoy being around people who actually, you know, do what they set out to do as a goal. It happens so rarely, unfortunately, nowadays. So you have my biggest respect, Alex.
Thank you. And yeah, I mean, you inspired me massively, so thank you for that.
And thanks again
I just shared
for
my story, nothing else.
And thanks again for coming on, Alex, and sharing with us and taking the time. I think we had like an amazing outpour of everything afterwards. So yeah, just thank you so much for your inspiration, for sharing, and yeah, if anyone wants to join the group, it's the same group that Christine talked about, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna repost that link in the comments and everything else that was links in the comments. Yeah, join your webinar, right?
Yeah, come along. The next one's on the 21st of August. There's a 3-week gap, but then it will be every fortnight. And I don't know what the topic will be next, but it will be announced in the Scrap the 9 to 5 Facebook group.
For people who don't know what this group is.
So Scrap the 9 to 5 is the private members group that was set up by Dan Holloway for all of his members and affiliates. But if you are a member of any other, like if you signed up with anybody else in SFM, you can also access the group. So as long as you're an essential member and you're connected to the SFM tribe, then just ask your referral partner to invite you into the group and you can join it. And there's a ton of resources in there, including several weekly, like a weekly webinar with Dan, lots of files, lots of stuff going on.
Awesome. So guys, make sure you join that group. I still remember myself joining this group when I joined the SFM shortly after, and I learned a lot from those webinars. Cool. So regarding the Q&A, let's do a quick Q&A webinar next time. So we focus only on answering questions, and we are going to answer this week's questions on the next one, if you don't mind. So sorry, guys, for not answering a question today, but maybe we can do a little bit of extra effort and answer them as text in the group as soon as possible. If not, we are going to answer them next. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I'm really inspired, to be honest with you, and
Me
deeply
too.
touched. Cool. Alex, again, thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. And all of you guys, I hope to see you on the next one, next week.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone. Bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye. Thank you.
See you later.